I'm here with Mike Martin. Mike is the founder of The Walls and two other wineries. One, I can't pronounce that name.
Pasha.
Oh, that's actually quite easy. And the second one that I didn't know about.
The newer one is called Stanley Groovy Wines. That's a new label we just launched this year.
I like that name.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll come back to that.
It's kind of an offshoot of our Walls character who's on our label, named Stanley Groovy.
I didn't know he actually had a name.
Yeah, it's got a name.
Now we know.
Now we know.
Secret's out. Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We are here at the tasting room. We're kind of in an intermediate tasting room between the main tasting room, or the entryway anyway, and the actual cellar itself, which is pretty cool that it's right there and people can see that. I really like it.
Once upon a time, this was part of the cellar. We managed to conquer it from the winemakers, and we can actually sell wine in here.
Oh, that must have been a fun battle.
Yes, it's a fun battle always.
I love it. First thing I'm going to ask is probably the most obvious, is the name, The Walls. Where did that come from?
Well, good question. We're actually not too far from the inspiration for The Walls, which is on about a quarter mile up the street here is the Washington State Penitentiary, which, if you're from Washington or not from Washington, is one of, at least for me, not being originally from here, one of the things when I moved here, Walla Walla was known for the sweet onions, wine to some degree, and the state pen. And it really is a landmark in this town. It predates Washington as a state when this was Oregon territory. It was built, I think, in 1860, something like that. So, and I was, my story, I'm not from the Northwest. I came to Seattle for a summer job about 35 years ago and never left. But I found Walla Walla on my travels, and I eventually bought kind of a weekend place here. And I would usually come here sometimes late at night. I'd be driving over from the Seattle area, and it's a small town, smallish town in a valley, and you would see this gigantic light, in the distance, because it's a pen, and you'd think like a pro football game was going on there with the number of lights. So I always thought of, this place, and to me, wine is all about place. So I wanted to kind of attach something very authentic to Walla Walla to the brand. So we went round and round on a few things, but nobody had ever really done anything really with, to me, one of Walla Walla's big trademarks, for better or worse. And we kind of had fun with it, and we were making wine literally in the shadow of it. We made our first two vintages at a custom crush facility that was an old cannery that was like a few hundred yards from the gate. So we were looking at it every day. And so that was kind of the origin of The Walls.
I have to take a spin up there and check that out. Something like that's got to be so cool.
It is, and you can, you can see a bit of the old. They have like the old vegetable garden, and the warden's house looks probably like 120 years old. So
it's still functional then.
The prison. Oh yeah, very, very much. There's some bad guys in there. It's Max. It's like the Washington version of San Quentin, or whatever. Pick your state. But yeah. So it's that was the origin of the name.
Cool. Well, at least it's an original idea.
Yeah. And we tried to, as I said, once we came up with the name, we tried to, not make it too jaily or too depressing. That was a bit of a challenge, and we went round and round, and then eventually the guy Mark Wiegard, who's from Gage Branding, still helps us, and he drew kind of this picture of a guy standing on a chair, and you can kind of see him over in the distance there, and he's on our Ramparts Grenache label. And it was rare. Everybody, myself, everybody at the winery at the time, even some of my friends who I was bouncing stuff off of, liked that, which was rare because we were always usually at each other's throats. And to me, it reminded me of the New Yorker, and I had read the New Yorker for a long time by then and really liked it. And I asked Mark, I think we could get a New Yorker cartoonist to maybe draw that. So he said sure, and we I think we had 10 different New Yorker cartoonists. We each paid them some money to draw essentially their take on Mark's drawing. Then we ended up with the one we liked the most was drawn by a cartoonist named Joe Dater, who's still a contributor to The New Yorker among many other publications. And he has a character called Walter Groovy, who he kind of adapted for us. Changed a few things about him, but kind of made him, used him for our purposes. And we really liked that name. But Joe was understandably pretty protective of Walter Groovy as his guy. So we, out of respect for Joe, we changed the name. He is, as I said, he's slightly different than Walter anyway. So I don't know if Stanley and Walter are brothers or cousins or whatever, but we
some universe.
They're in some universe. That's how Stanley Groovy came to be.
So between the labels, Stanley Groovy
Sure.
and Pasha, and of course the walls, what is the difference in terms of your approach to
Well, I think it started with the walls. I mean, that's really where we started about coming up on our 11th harvest. And that really is a brand I tied to kind of, as I said, our Stanley Groovy character, who's to us a great storyteller. It's really, I think, a chance to explore one of, if not the kind of two preeminent regions in Washington for wine grape growing, Walla Walla Valley and Yakima Valley, Red Mountain. That's really where most all the Walls wines come from both of those regions. And we have both kind of a Bordeaux and Rhone varietals, kind of a spring and fall. And that really is what the origin of the Walls was or is. As time went on, I got more. I mean, I learned more about wine and the business of wine and just the local area, and certainly was very much enthralled by the potential and just how unique the Rocks District of Milton Freewater is, which is a subpart of the Walla Walla AVA. It's actually a tiny AVA itself on the Oregon side of the Walla Walla Valley. Actually extends into Oregon. It's an alluvial fan, cobblestones, very much like Southern Rhone Valley in terms of terroir, and really got into those wines, really understood how unique a place that is and how the effect of it has on the wine. So I purchased a place to plant pretty soon after we started, 2015, and as time went on, I bought a vineyard that already had been planted. So with both of those things, I thought, it's time. Really, we want to do something specifically focused on that area. So that was kind of the origin of the Pasha brand, was to do something that was really a deep dive into that particular area, and in particular with kind of estate wines. And we decided to make Pasha only Rhone varietals to really kind of give it kind of deep focus. So, well, I don't think of the Walls as, it's not terribly broad, but it is a more approachable. I mean, there's different types of Rhone, Bordeaux, Walla Walla, Yakima Valley, Red Mountain. It's a little bit of a broader-based opportunity for people to really kind of experience Washington, Northwest. Pasha is really, it's specific, and it's very in-depth about that area. Pasha actually means sunflower, balsam root sunflower, in the Sahaptin language, which is the language of the indigenous people here. Once upon a time, Walla Walla was full of balsam root sunflowers, I believe, before kind of the white settlers came, and there's still some, but there's predominantly wheat now. But the kind of subsect of that tribe were known as the Pasha people by some other tribes in the area, like the Nez Perce. So yeah, we wanted to really connect a brand about place, a name about that place, and really showcase the potential and how unique the wines can be from that place.
You clearly had a great passion for wine, because as I look at you, you look like a rational, sane man. And as I've said more times than I can count, opening up, starting a vineyard, making wines, is not for the faint at heart.
No, it's not. And I'm reminded, I have several, I remember the old Robin Williams quote that cocaine was God's way of telling you had too much money. And I think wine is definitely something passionate is, everybody knows the whole, the cliches about, making a small fortune in wine, starting with a big one, all of that. I mean, I think for me it was, I'm not a wine guy, like from the get-go. I didn't grow up drinking wine. I didn't grow up in a family that drank wine. I grew up in the Northeast. For the most part, I was born in New York City and was really kind of raised in the suburbs of both New Jersey and
But
Connecticut.
there's a little wine in New York City, too.
There's a little bit, although I wasn't drinking it. I really started to get into wine when I was in law school. I was so bored my third year of law school that I saw a sign for a wine tasting class every Thursday night at the Michigan Union. And I decided to go, and it was me, another guy, and about 30 sorority girls. So I was like, this is pretty good. And then I kind of had a summer job in Seattle, and knew some people, but I'm not from the Northwest originally. So I started going to wine tastings, and you could tell that wine in the Northwest, even in the 90s, it wasn't just grunge that was happening. You could tell the wine scene was definitely also on the rise, and I met a lot of people. I mean, it was a great way to break the ice. And they'd say, do you want to go? We're going to Yakima this weekend. Do you want to come? And I'd be like, sure, wherever that is. But but that to me is the magic of wine. Is it comes in a shareable format. I mean, and I think there's so many people that I've met, even before I got in the wine business. There's so many people I met just because of wine. You'd be sharing wine. Sometimes you'd be at, with a friend at just having a bottle of wine. Somebody would look at the label and you'd be like, hey, you want to try it? And that would lead to other conversations. So
As it often does.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, while I have a restaurant bar that makes great cocktails, it's not as easy to sometimes share a cocktail with somebody as a bottle of wine, although I've done it.
It's different, though. It's not
different.
The same.
It's not the same. But I think, if you have a bottle of wine, it's very natural to ask somebody if you'd like to try it.
So here at the tasting room, again, a beautiful place. And if people would like to come by and see and taste, do they need to make an appointment? Can they just wander by?
They can certainly walk in. We welcome them if they want to let us know they're coming. That's great too. But no, we're on Pine Street here in Walla Walla, and we're open every day. So I think from 10 to 4. We offer a few different kinds of tastings. We have a Pasha lineup that people can try, but we also have our kind of Walls standard 5 that rotate during the year. And we have a food menu. I have a restaurant in town called Passatempo Taverna, which is an Italian place, site of a very legendary pastime cafe, which was here in Walla Walla for 80 years. So it's kind of a reimagined version of that, and they help drive the food program at the winery. So it's some really good food too.
Cool. And for our listeners who'd like to learn about you online, what's your website?
thewallsvineyards.com, both with S's. And we also have Pasha Wines, PASXA wines.com, and StanleyGroovy.com. Those are the 3 brands. Each have their own site, but the Walls Vineyards, as I said, with S's after Walls and Vineyards, that has links to all of them.
Stanley Groovy.
Stanley Groovy.
Look for it. I love that name.
Yes.
Mike, thanks very much. This is a lot of fun.
Thanks, Ray.